Thanks for stopping by again here at Busy Lady Life channel. This is a repeat video of something I've done earlier, but I'm spending a little more time with you guys to show you how to do it. And it's time to make it again because I'm out of my jalapeno relish. This is a really good recipe if you like brats, burgers. You can put it on just about anything. So I started this recipe about 10 years ago. I found it on Pinterest when I had not enough tomatoes in my garden and I had an overabundance of jalapenos. This was actually from last year's crop, and I just threw them into the freezer, took the tops off, and let them freeze until I need them later on. I'm going to show you this recipe while I have my iced coffee over there, my old red cup from Blake Shelton's restaurant in Gatlinburg, and we will get started. Now the recipe technically calls for 1 cup of jalapenos. Obviously this is larger, so we're going to do a little bit more, but I'll go through what the measurements are from the recipe. Now, of course, I'm going to be duplicating this recipe because I'm making more than them. So it's 1 cup of jalapenos. You're going to use a 1/4 cup of onions. You're going to use a 1/3 cup of olive oil, a 1/3 cup of apple cider vinegar, and then you're going to have a tablespoon of minced garlic, and a tablespoon of kosher salt. So here I'm showing you just the kosher salt that I use. Got this fancy little container, says, take life with a grain of salt. Here's my onions that I'm going to start out with. I use sweet onions, but you could use yellow. I don't think the red would taste very good. Apple cider vinegar. And then I use minced garlic. You could use fresh garlic too. You could even use garlic powder if you wanted. You just have to adjust the ratios. So here's all my frozen, thawed out jalapenos. I'm not going to de-seed them. You could de-seed them if you want it to be less spicy. Now it's still going to have a lot of heat with the seeds. It'll still have slight heat without the seeds. Just make it to whatever you like. And I'm personally not going to take the time to de-seed these. I will just throw them right into my food processor and let them go. So you'll need a food processor. You could use a blender. I'm canning these, but we'll go through those steps later. So I'm just preparing all my canning jars. There's my lids all ready to go. I'm going to water bath this because it does have vinegar in it. So I'm able to do that with the acidity that I have. Now, if it wasn't so acidic, I would have to then pressure can it. So here I throw all my seasoning. Oh, I forgot to mention too, you need about a tablespoon of salt in there too. My bad. I'm sorry, a tablespoon of sugar. Of course you need the tablespoon of salt. But you also need a little sugar in there because it is pickled. So here I am with the 1/3 cup of oil, putting in that 1/3 cup of apple cider vinegar. There's my oil. And I'll link the recipe. Actually, I'll list it in the contents of this video just to make sure somebody has it. Again, I do things one-handed. I don't know why I don't get my tripod thing going. It becomes too much to maneuver. It's so much easier this way. Put it on the food processor and I just let this stuff blend. So you've got your onions, your jalapenos, your oil, your garlic, your salt, your vinegar. Just combine it all until it resembles a relish that you would put over your hot dogs. Now it looks a little foamy as it's mixing in the food processor, but you'll see as when I put it into a bowl that it's not as foamy anymore. Now, mind you too, again, I am making multiple amounts of this, so that's why my bowl is so full. 1 cup obviously would not be this much. I added a little turmeric in here. I think anything that you're canning and pickling could benefit from some turmeric. It gives it a good flavor, and the health benefits of turmeric are really good. So I put about it for my particular one. This is a large amount, so I put 2 tablespoons of turmeric in mine, but you could probably be, for the 1 cup recipe, maybe a 1/4 tablespoon of turmeric. So here I'm going to add all this relish into my clean, sterilized jars. Meanwhile, the lids are just staying in hot water to keep moist. I'll add a little bit of the juice in there, trying to get all that relish down. Now I've got some jelly jars and then some pint jars. None of these are the larger ones. These are all the smaller ones. But I'm telling you, this amount will be gone probably by January next year. I may even have it. It depends. I know I have to give 1 to a friend. I usually give 2 to a friend. And then I'll keep my own stock, but it'll be gone. Now, because it has olive oil, and you should clean the rims anyhow, but I definitely get some hot water on a paper towel just to clean the rims. So when I put my lid on, it doesn't have a bad seal because of the olive oil. So you wipe every one of them. Now, if you wanted to and you didn't want to water bath this and you just wanted to put it in the fridge, that's fine too. Because again, it's got the apple cider vinegar in there, so it keeps for a while. So I'm taking my lids off out of the water, put them on, and then I'm going to tighten with the rings. I tighten them finger tight. And then here I'm putting all the rings on them. So when you're water bathing or pressure cooking or pressure canning, you're preserving whatever you're canning, so it has a longer shelf life. And the nice thing about it is that you know what you're eating and what preservatives and things you're putting in there, so you're not getting all the added chemicals that some canned foods come with. So this is my pressure canner that I'm using right now as my water bath. So I've filled it up. You always want to have a little plate kind of at the bottom so your glass is not directly on the surface. Kind of gives it some cushion. I put a little clear vinegar in here, regular vinegar, just so it doesn't give a haze to my glasses. You can also do that when you do pressure canning too. Take a little spin as I try to scoop them up with my little grabber. And then you want this water to cover these, probably about 1 inch to cover your lids. As you see, some of the air is escaping. And then you're going to bring this to a boil, and then you let this cook to whatever time is specific to your item you're water bathing. So for me and my altitude and everything like that, I am doing it for 10 minutes. Now, other water bath items may take longer, but this is just what I'm doing. So now my time is up. I'm removing it straight from the water. Be very careful. This is very hot. Make sure you have the right tools when you're doing any canning. So do some research and educate yourself on this process. Just because I would hate to have anybody scalded or any issues from a video of watching mine, because it's a learned process. But it's an art form that's kind of lost. Not many people do it anymore. But it's nice to know for your family what you're giving them. So I'm not removing the little water that's on the top. I'm just bringing it straight to this towel and letting it sit. And you'll see that afterwards I'll dab it with a paper towel in order to remove that excess water. Here I have 4 pint-sized jars and then 3 small ones. So I'm just taking that paper towel, just dabbing. I'm not pressing heavily because, as you're going to see, I'll be pointing out, there's areas that are a little bit raised. That has to be suctioned in as it cools, and that seals your jars. So you don't want to push on that because that will give you a false seal, if you notice. So these just continue to cool. And then as you let this cool, you'll start hearing little pings. Ping, 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 ping. That means that your cans are sealed and you want to continue to let them cool. Honestly, when I can, I usually let it sit overnight. I don't even bother with it, and it just stays there. Now, if your seal does not ping and it doesn't go down, that is not a sealed item, and you will need to store that in the refrigerator. It will not be able to be shelf stable. So please always remember that to, again, do some research about canning, water bath, pressure canning, whatever you're doing. There's a lot of good resources. Ball has a great book on canning, gives you all kinds of information, tools, times. But here I'm just kind of showing you that little beveled area. So I think I had 2 of them that didn't seal right for some reason, whatever. So I just stuck them in the fridge. I'm going to use them this summer anyhow, so they'll be fine.